core to Android is to actually check it out from the Android developer documentation website itself. So I'm just going to show you this now, so in the future, if you ever encounter anything, either in this course or afterwards you don't understand, get some official information. So let's switch to Google Chrome now, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in the search box, Android, activity, and search. And we want to make sure that when we get the guide, here we go, activity, it's in the developer.android.com/reference. So this is the official reference docs for Android. So let's click this now. Now, I remember when I was first told to visit these developer docs, how intimidating I found it. You've got tons of words on the left and on the right that make no sense. But if you can sort of filter out the noise of all these things left and right that we don't know yet, somewhere in the middle is usually a pretty good official description for the thing you're looking at. So here we have activity from the Android developer docs. And these two lines here are really good. An activity is a single focused thing that the user can do. Almost all activities interact with the user. So the activity class takes care of creating a window for you in which you can place your UI with set content view. Okay, so we're going to take that and build upon that in this tutorial. So let's switch back. So I'm going to bring those points into our tutorial now. Activities are a single focused thing that the user can do. As we build our app to start to move between different screens or different activities, that particular screen should mainly be just one type of thing, whether that's a contact list on one screen, followed by the contact details on another. So each activity has a very clear purpose, so the user knows why they're there and what to do when they're there. Almost all activities interact with the user. So unless you're just displaying something like terms and conditions, for the most part, there's going to be something they can do there. Some buttons, some widgets, some views, maybe another screen they can go to from there as well. Okay, so interactive. And the activity class takes care of creating a window for you, in which you can place your UI, which stands for user interface, which is basically our layout. And we can place our UI with set content view, and then the ID for your layout. So we've seen this already in the main activity from before. All right. So when we make an activity in Android, the actual process of having a window, an actual place to put the layout, is taken care of. And if you just use set content view, it will read your XML layout and it will put it on the screen for you. All right, and that is an activity. So let's see some examples of these points. So if we think about a single focus thing that a user can do, think of a Gmail, which on most Android phones is there by default. You might have on the left the inbox activity, and the focused thing for the user to do there is look through their emails and maybe search them. If they then press on the plus button, the create new button, they will go to another activity where they can compose an email. And these are two totally different activities, two different do that happen and create if that's affect those and method like this, when you tell activities outside of our app. So close any previous project you had open and get back to the Welcome to Android Studio dialog, which I'm at now. This is one of the last times that I'm going to do the new project setup with you, okay? It's getting to the point in the course where you should start to be doing some of the things we've done several times on your own. So to save time in future projects, I will just be meeting you in the main activity.java file after having done the setup to save future tutorial time, okay? So for one of the last times, start a new Android project and empty activity. Now, think of a name of some restaurant or pub or somewhere which serves food. It can be real or fictional. I'm just going to make one up, the Hungry Developer. That sounds like a good name for a restaurant. I might launch one called that one day. All right, package name I'm going to leave as the default com.myname.thehungrydeveloper. Putting it in the right folder and Java. Good, finish. And I'm going to maximize the window. And I'm in the main activity.java file now, and it is finished setting up. There's no more activity at the bottom. So the purpose of this tutorial is to build a layout for the home screen, for the first screen they see when they open the app, this one. So let's head over to activity_main. Okay, and let's go to split view. So the purpose of the home screen is going to be to show the name of the restaurant. And we'll style the text a bit nicer this time. We'll do some new attributes for our text view. And then we have a nice, big, friendly, easy to press image and word saying starters, and image and word saying main courses. So name of the pub and a couple of things the user can click on. Okay, so we can do the usual and delete everything apart from the XML declaration. And one of the main objectives for this tutorial is to introduce you a new layout, the relative layout. So this is a different type of view group, a different type of container to linear layout. So in linear layout, we know that the views or the widgets stack either on top of each other or side by side. They have vertical and they have horizontal orientation, and they just go one after the other. So let's see what relative layout does. Do a opening tag and type the word relative, and then let that autocomplete. Okay, and we'll do just the right arrow, so it will make our closing tag automatically. Okay, that's good. Do some line breaks. And we need to fix the error and bring in the Android namespace. So do a couple of lines after the relative layout, and start typing width for layout width, autocomplete, and we'll do match parent, and then height, match parent. So it'll be as big as the screen, as the window. Okay, and do either Control Alt L or Command Option L to auto format that so it tidies it up for us. Now that's looking very good. So if a linear layout stacks the views one after the other, well, a relative layout will put them in relation to each other. Let me show you what this means. So let's put in our first text view for our restaurant name. We'll always do wrap content for now with our text views. Give it a text attribute and give it the name of your restaurant. I'm going to do mine, the Hungry Developer, and we'll do a self-closing tag. So the very first view, there are no other views on the screen, so we can't put it in relation to anything. So it just sits inside its parent. If I auto-format that, it just sits inside its parent, the relative layout, and by default, like the linear layout, it puts it in the top left. Now with the relative layout, the children that sit inside it get a whole big list of extra attributes they can use. Start typing the word layout, and then look at this list here. So layout margin, margin top, we have that in linear layout, but we have a whole load of new ones like below, to the start of, center horizontal, center vertical. We have to the left of, to the right of. So we have these new attributes because it's sitting inside a relative layout. Okay, so we could put this anywhere we wanted to in the relative layout. We could say center in parent, the parent of the relative layout. Let's click that, and we can set that to true, and you can see it jumps to the middle of the whole relative layout, the whole screen. So we will actually put this at the top. So we will delete the center parent line and do layout center horizontal, true, and that puts it at the top middle. Now at this point you might be thinking, well hang on, I was able to do this with a linear layout and setting the linear layout to gravity, so all the children were centered. And yes, that's correct, you can do it that way. The truth is, with making layouts in Android, there's many ways you could use to do the same layout, and some have advantages, some take longer, some have more control and more flexibility. So by showing you a relative layout, I'm showing you a different approach. So we have one layout on the screen and it's centered in its parent, centered horizontally. To make other text views relative to this, we need to give this an ID. Okay, the programming code might not need this, but this layout file needs to refer to the other views. So give it an ID, autocomplete the plus ID, and we'll call it text underscore view underscore restaurant underscore name. So now we have this with an ID, we can start to refer to it and put other views in relation to it. So let's do another text view now. Let's do some wrap content, and this text can now say starters for our starter courses. And we'll do a new line straight away, and we'll do an ID, and give it an ID of text underscore view underscore starters. And then we'll do a self-closing tag. And what we will do is we will auto-format now, so do Control-Alt-L or Command-Option-L and see what happens. So it's very useful when you do that in the XML files because it puts the IDs always at the top and it clumps a lot of the attributes together. So I make frequent use of the auto-format in layout files. It's really helpful. Good, so now we have this, but if you look at the design preview, it's putting it in the top left again because we haven't told it where to go. If we copy the center horizontal thing to make it centered, well, it's going to go absolutely over the top of the other one because it doesn't know where to go in terms of how high or how low, it just knows to center. So we will leave the center horizontal thing because we do want it to be centered, but now we would give it something to be in relation to. So type the word layout, and it's the word below, layout below. So you can start typing below and let the autocomplete. Now we need to tell it the view to be below. And it gives you the suggestions. Obviously we don't want to say starters, it can't be below itself. We want to say text view restaurant name. Now if you look at this, we have the view, we have the ID, but we don't have the plus symbol. This is a very important thing. If you just select the restaurant name and autocomplete, I mentioned this a couple of sections ago when we first did XML, but I want to say it again now clearly. The plus symbol is when you make a new ID and you want to immediately add that to your app project so it's immediately available. If we don't put the plus in, then we can't refer to it straight away. Okay, so that's what that's for. But we've already made our text view restaurant name up here. We've already added it here. So now we're just referring to it. So we definitely do not put the plus symbol here. You only put the plus symbol before ID when you're making a new ID. And the text view is excellent. Let's do the one for the main course. So another text view. Wrap content. Text can be main courses. The ID, autocomplete. Android puts the plus in. Text view mains. I'll abbreviate that. And we want to do layout center horizontal. So keep going with the attributes, make that true. And we want to do layout below. And this time text view starters. Autocomplete. Okay, I'll do a self-closing tag and I'll do my super useful auto format, Control-Alt-L, Command-Option-L, and you can see there that that's put that IDs at the top and it's clumped our attributes together. So that is the three main text things on our home screen. We could do with tidying up the layout a little bit. Let's do a couple of things. Let's squeeze all of the views inside the relative layout in, and we squeeze a container's contents with padding. So let's pad these in. Let's do 24 dp. So that's squeezed all the children inside. That's good. We want to do some margin from the starters to the restaurant name. So let's start typing layout margin. And let's not do margin because I'll put it on all sides. I'll add it to the neighbor of the main course as well. Let's just do margin top. Okay, and we'll do something fairly big. We'll do 60 dp. Okay, see how that it puts the margin at top but doesn't put any margin at the bottom. So we can copy the same attribute and put it in the mains, and each subsequent text view has 60 margin on the top to space it nicely. If we do just margin, I'll show you, look. See how it puts it kind of both sides? We don't want that. So we leave it as margin top, and that's looking okay. The text looks a bit boring, and in fact for starters and main courses we're going to do a little bit more with this. We're going to do a fancy picture and a card. But at least for the app title we can start to make this text finally look a bit nicer. So here's some new attributes for you. Put them any way you like, make a new line break. The first is text size. Okay, and we will do something fairly big, so we'll do 24. Now you might think I can do dp, and you can do dp, but there's a more sophisticated value we can use. Do sp. Okay, now this behaves a lot like dp. In fact I can put dp in and it'll give us a warning saying we should use sp for text sizes. So dp is density independent pixels, it'll look the same on whatever screen, but when you use sp, if the user in their phone settings has enlarged their text or reduced the size of it throughout their whole phone, then any text that we define in SP, it will respect that and match that. If they've enlarged their text, then if you use SP, it will appear large on your phone too. And that's an accessibility thing for people who may be vision impaired. So really good practice. All the professionals use SP, and I recommend you do the same. So we have bigger text now. We'll change the font now, font family, and let's do, we've only got a few by default. Let's go for super modern. Let's go sans serif light. So it's nice and thin. That's quite a cool modern way of doing titles. It's a bit grey. It's a bit kind of a boring colour. So we have text colour. Don't be too worried about memorising all of these now. They'll be covered many, many times. And if you forget, the answer is very easy to find on Google. And there's lots of ways you can define a colour. There's a complicated way where we can do a hexadecimal code, and we will be introducing that later on. But for the purpose of this tutorial, let's go with one of our pre-existing colours that we have in our project. So you see at colour, we have colour primary, primary dark, accent. By default, you get a theme when you make a new project with a few colours. And we'll just use our themes colours for now. So we'll go with colour primary dark. Let's do that. Okay, so it happens to be purple for now. That looks a bit nicer. Okay, so a few more attributes there. Text size, text colour, font family. All right. We will leave the starters and main course for now, because what we actually need to do is introduce a nice layout element called a card view, a material card view. This is a thing from Google's special material design library, which is a real very popular set of widgets and views that can help your app look a bit more modern. Now the element's called card view, but if I start typing card view now, oh look, we don't get autocomplete. And the reason we don't get autocomplete is we don't have access to this yet. Okay, so there's many, many, many different libraries of widgets and design elements and things you can put on the screen, but we don't get every single widget in the world by default in our project. We need to add it as a dependency. We need to add it to our project. So that's what we can go and do next when we finally look at our app's build files. As mentioned in the last tutorial, we're now ready to add something new to our layout, this card view. Default absent, and you get by someone to delete it. Now, we need to now head over to our app's build files, and this is a new thing. So I'll show you where to find these. On the left side, on the project pane, make sure it's always turned to project mode, not Android. And if the top level folder is closed, open it. And the only other folder that we need to be open is the app one. So I mentioned this term build files. We write our Java programming code and we write our XML resources, whether that's layout or other XML data files. But something needs to happen to tell Android how to put those pieces together to make an app that shows on the phone. And the thing that's responsible for assembling these pieces and building our app, which means making it into real working software, is our build files. The name of this file is called build.gradle. If we look at the left-hand side and we look closely, we're actually going to see this file twice. Just close the top level folder and open it. So at the very top of our directory, we have build.gradle here. Don't open it, but you can have a look at it there. This is our project build file. And for the time being, we don't need to look at this one at all. There's not even much in that file, so do not even worry about that one. The defaults in that file are fine. But what we need is our app build file. So open the app folder, and you'll see again, build.gradle. And if you were to open the two files, like open one by mistake, the project one by mistake, the project one would be quite small, only a few lines, and the app one will be a lot bigger. So if you're ever in a build.gradle file and you're not seeing what I'm seeing, chances are you're in the wrong build.gradle file. So we found this file. Let's open it now and prepare ourselves to be horrified by what we see. So double click to open. Okay, and let's just have a little scroll up and down this file here. This is one of the most intimidating looking files when you're new to Android. It's not in Java, it's not in Kotlin, it's not in XML, it's in a completely new type of language called Groovy. You heard me right, that's Groovy scripting language. And honestly, a large part of this file in the early days, we're going to be absolutely fine leaving exactly as it is. As we get into the course, we're going to actually understand the majority, if not all of this file. But let's just quickly go over a couple of things that are important to us. You can ignore this plugin at the top. That's just a necessary thing for the file to know what type of thing it's building. And as you can see, we're building an Android application. So that tells Groovy, the language that this file is written in, what we're building. Okay? Then we've got this big Android block with a load of configuration stuff. Probably looks horribly confusing. There might be some things you recognize, like your package name here. For now, all the defaults here are fine. This tells Android Studio, when we come to make our app, what to do, what version of Android to build for, what we're calling our app, what the name is, what the code is. Okay, we can leave these defaults. So ignore all of the Android block and ignore the plugin statement. We'll be leaving that for many, many tutorials and sections. But if we scroll down, we get to this block here called dependencies. And this one is important, and we'll be learning how this works right now. So when you make a new project, you get a few default lines already in the dependencies block. A dependency is when you tell Android Studio what libraries, what files you need to make your project, to make your app. So what do I mean by library? You might have heard me mention this word before in the previous tutorial. Well, a library is simply a collection of files that either you've written or somebody else has written. So by default, when we make a new project, we get this line here, a command called implementation, and then a name of a library, the Android X AppCompat library. And this gives us many, many things. AppCompat meaning it's backwards compatible, so it's up to date and modern, but it will work on older versions of Android. And when we write this line, and when we first build our app reads the build.gradle file, and this is like a ingredients list, a shopping list of things it needs to go and fetch before we can start getting to our Java code and XML code. So we put in here anything that we need, whether that's card view or the default things or some other library in the future, and we will be adding many new libraries throughout this course. We put that in this block here. When we build the app, Android Studio will go and fetch these, download them from the internet, store them locally, and then we can start to play with them in our XML and Java code. You can ignore the test ones at the bottom because we're not doing any tests at the moment. You can ignore this one at the top because we don't have any local libraries, we don't have any local files in our libs folder, which is over here. But these two we have been using. You might recognize constraint layout from before, and then AppCompat library contains a whole heap of things that we use in Android application development. So we need to add a dependency to our new card view library. And the way we find out what to type here is with an internet search. So go over to your browser. I'm going to show you the way that I find what